G'day everyone, it's Alex here from On Street Garage. Welcome to the 1HZ Mega Test. Today we are going to be taking the Landcruiser for a run up and down the highway. As you can see down in the corner here, I've got a camera set up on the gauges so we can see what's happening with its temperatures, with its boost. We're going to look at fuel consumption. I think for a bit of fun, I'll try and find a safe place to do a 0 to 100 run if we can get to 100. And we're just going to discuss what the reality is of the 1HZ. There's lots of discussion across Facebook and all the places where you get the best facts saying the 1HZ is a useless engine, it can't do the speed limit. Especially this one has the automatic transmission as well, the A442F. So we're gonna either bust some myths or prove them true. So one of the things I know is true with these engines and with this car as it stands at the moment is if you have an old school turbo setup, the things like the DTS systems, in my opinion, they are extremely poor. So this has a DTS turbo, it has a top mount intercooler, and it's extremely lazy. So as you can see on the rev range down with boost, it's extremely slow to come on boost. We were at 2,000 revs and we're barely getting 4 or 5 pound. It still gets hot on big long hills, and I think that's because the turbo is so lazy that it's not efficiently burning the fuel when we're on a long run. So I've got some future plans for this too. I've bought a whole bunch of bits and pieces that are all being shipped out. So the intention is we're going to sort of do back-to-back testing with each modification that I do. See what helps with the EGT, see what helps with performance on the 0 to 100, on maintaining the speed limit, and just generally how the car feels. So if this is the sort of thing you're interested in, if you have a 1HZ, if you have a 105 Landcruiser, or you're thinking of buying one, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're putting in a lot of effort to this to make sure that, you know, we're answering a lot of questions and busting a lot of myths. There's stuff on Facebook all the time where people are saying, this is a fact, that's a fact, and someone says the opposite. So today we're gonna find out what's what once and for all. So I'm gonna go fill up the car now, we're gonna jump on the highway, and I'll see you guys again then. Alrighty, we have a full tank. I've reset the trip meter so we can track the fuel usage. I've turned the air conditioner off, and just to give you an idea of the spec of this car currently, I've got 315/70/16, so I think roughly 33 inch just under tyres. It's got a 2-inch lift. I've got drawers in the back that just have some basics like a little camp oven and a few bits and pieces. We've got a fridge in the back with a drop slide, so there's a little bit of weight in the back. It's got a safari snorkel, but in terms of modifications that'll affect the parameters we're looking at, that's pretty much it. So first thing we'll do is we're just coming up to the highway here. I'm gonna see if there's a safe spot where we can pull over and get a 0 to 100. There's not too many cars around, so it should be easy enough. And I think what we'll do, so I'm not going to drive it like a cowboy. I'm not trying to break the car. Like, obviously I really love this car and I want to take care of it. So I think the way I'll be testing this is we're going to do our best to do the speed limit without things getting too hot or pushing the car too hard. So what I've done is on my gauges, I have an alarm set at 550 degrees on the EGT. It's post turbo, so that's definitely as hot as we would like it to get. So if we hit that point, I'll be backing off, we'll be resetting, and then we'll know that that's the point where the car's being pushed past its current limit. So we're just working our way up. There's actually a few more cars than what I thought there was going to be at the on-ramp. We're medium throttle there, and you can see how quickly our EGT is getting up. So we're doing 105. I've got overdrive on. So that was no hard throttle, and we're doing 110 now. So getting to the speed limit, in my opinion, is no issue. The guys who say these things can't sit on the speed limit, they can't get to the speed limit, I think that's a ridiculous comment. This is literally a 1HZ, it's turbo, but it's auto. And we got up to 110 then with minimal effort. EGT's got up around 400, but that's like, it's not a problem. So that's our first bit of the test done. The good thing about this part of the highway is we almost come up straight to a decent sized hill. So I'm going to roll down this little bit here and I'll show you how we go up the hill. So something that's probably an issue more with the auto than the manual is picking your gears properly. So overdrive is awesome when you're on flat ground or a very slight incline because it keeps your revs down, it keeps the car very comfortable, but it will kill your car so quickly on the uphills. It's, I suppose, like the equivalent of going 5th gear, low revs, foot to the floor up a hill in a manual. The EGTs skyrocket. It's just not good for the car, and you know, it compounds when you're towing. So I've got overdrive on at the moment. I'm gonna stick to, we're doing 105 k's an hour. I'm just gonna try and maintain 105 k's an hour up the hill and watch what happens to the EGTs once we start to load it up. So you can see how quickly they're climbing. We're already at 440, 450. 460, and you can see that boost is probably a little bit too low. We're now doing 100 k's an hour. I have to back off, I've got a truck in front of me, but you can see how quickly that heat starts to get up there. And this will show it even more now that I've had to slow down to overtake this truck. Revs are low, we're doing 65 k's an hour. Plant the foot, look at those EGTs. Absolutely awful. I'm going to back that off. So overdrive definitely doesn't help, but you can see how terrible this turbo setup is on hills. It's just not running efficiently. There's quite clearly too much fuel going in and we're right up where we don't want to be, over 500 degrees. So what I'll do on the next hill that we get to is I'm going to click overdrive off so that the engine can rev a little bit cleaner. We'll get a little bit more boost up and see the difference that makes. And you can see once we ease off the throttle, EGTs come down pretty quickly. But it's just running up way too fast there. And in my opinion, I think the turbo is probably the biggest culprit there. There's things like the viscous fan. It's a relatively little known fact that the viscous fans take a hydraulic oil because they've got a clutch in them that locks up. And if you've had the fan for a long time, and it's probably not nearly as effective as it should be. So that's one of the things I'm going to be putting in first, is changing that fan and seeing if we get any changes to the temperatures here. Okay, so back up to 100, 105. Our EGTs have stabilized again. But again, you can see light throttle and we're getting hardly any boost input. That rear housing just makes this thing so lazy. We're at 2,500 revs and it's way too slow. And I think ideally these engines should probably be close to around 14 pound of boost. So what I've actually gone and done is, once the fan's done, I've bought an upgraded turbo. It's got a smaller rear housing. They're meant to be a lot more efficient. When that video comes out, I'll show you guys what the turbo is once we have the actual facts. Because again, I don't want to start saying this thing's great, this is what I bought, until I've actually tested it and seen it work. One of the other things I've bought is I've bought a front mount intercooler. Now, I know for a fact in my old 80, the front mount was really effective. So I'm very excited to see what sort of a difference that makes. I mean, a top mount is better than no intercooler, but I would say only very marginally in these. I don't think they're a particularly good option at all if you want to intercool any of the 1H series engines, to be honest. Okay, so again, we've got a slight incline here, a bit of throttle input, and those EGTs shoot pretty quick. I would like it if the boost went up as quick as the EGTs did, because I think that would help. But you can also see that we've been sitting on 100 k's an hour the whole time here. We're in the right lane. We've got someone in front of us, so 110 would be no issue. If you are thinking about buying a 1HZ, and one of the things that's holding you back from it is not being able to do the speed limit on the highway, don't worry about it. I know if it's non-turbo, it will be harder, but they do it. And they do it relatively easy. Okay, so we've just dropped into a 90 km/h zone on the motorway here. You see those EGTs, I've been keeping a bit of an eye on them, and on the flat bits of road it sits around 320. Again, this is a steep incline, or not a steep incline, this is a slight incline. It pretty quickly jumps up to that low 4s. So this is what I want to show you, clicking overdrive off. So if I just reach in here and turn that off, your revs will feel higher because it's allowing some slippage at the engine, but your EGTs will instantly drop, and by a decent amount. So I haven't changed the speed I'm doing, I've just disconnected the overdrive. So, you know, looking at that, there's almost 80 degrees difference there. So I would recommend, if you buy an auto 1HZ or a manual one, it's always worth just dropping down a gear. Yes, you might use slightly more fuel, but if you're going uphill, for the sake of your engine, I think it's worth doing that. I suppose the trade-off, if it's a really long run, your gearbox starts to get a bit warmer. So something I'm going to explore once we're finished optimizing the engine is we're going to start looking at the gearbox and doing similar sort of testing. So I'd like to change the transcooler to a bigger aftermarket unit, and I think we'll look at heavy-duty valve bodies and some of the smaller things you can do there. This is not going to be a big budget build, this car. I'm trying to keep everything relatively affordable. We're sort of stepping into some areas now where I'm spending a little bit more, but I just want to do, like, get maximum bang for buck. So we'll do those couple of little bits and pieces, see how that helps. And then there's going to be some general maintenance, and we'll see if that has any impact. I need to get in and grease up all the shafts, the CVs. We might do wheel bearings. If there's anything you guys are interested in seeing, if there's anything that you guys are interested in seeing in terms of modifications to help with EGTs or fuel efficiency or anything like that, drop it in the comments. I've obviously got a few ideas of what I want to do, but I'm definitely open to doing some experimenting or testing some ideas to see if it makes a difference. Guys, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you do. Please drop a like on the video, leave me a comment. If there's anything you want to see done with this Landcruiser in terms of testing or, you know, driving, just leave it in the comments. I read all the comments. I'm trying to make this channel as interesting as possible. I'm really loving my time in the Landcruiser, so yeah, feel free. And every subscribe, every video like obviously helps the channel grow. We're at a really interesting point now where I've hit over 1,000 subscribers, so yeah, the more it grows, the more time I can put into this. But I really appreciate it, everyone watching, and already lots of people leaving likes and comments and all that sort of thing. So probably getting close to the next big hill. So I think I'm just going to leave the cameras rolling. If nothing else, it's a good way for you guys just to see how it performs in between the ups and downs of hills. I mean, the good thing for me in terms of comfort, I think these are just amazing. Now that I've got the new chair in, it's just that next level up. The suspension ride's really nice. There's a little bit of road noise from the tires, but if you look at previous videos, I've started doing the sound deadening in the boot section before the drawers went in. We're going to work our way front to back with that. I've got a whole bunch of suspension parts that are again on the way. So I'm going to do like I hate to say stage 2, because I know all the Buzzbox Golfs and that new crap talk about stage 1 tune, stage 2 tune. It's not like that, but if you look at one of my earlier videos where I did must-have modifications for your Landcruisers or your 4-wheel drives, the first thing I did was springs and shocks, just to get that lift, get the look that you like, make it a bit more comfortable. But if you really want to be able to dial that suspension in and get the most out of it, there are quite a few supporting mods that you should be doing. So I'm going to do a next stage video on the suspension and show what you should be doing next to dial in that lift, really get the car driving as good as it can. And, you know, along with that, it will also improve the way that the car handles on the road, as well as off-road. Okay, so we're coming up to the next hill. This one's a lot longer. I think now I might be able to give you guys a better look at what Overdrive does. Pretty much the intention here for me, we're sitting on exactly 100 k's an hour again. The second it touches 550 and that alarm goes off, we're gonna click the Overdrive off and see if that makes a difference to it almost straight away. But this is probably one of the best tests to show what the 1HZ is capable of on the highway. So I'm just gonna hold 100 k's an hour here. I lost the GoPro for a second there, but we're still doing 100. It's funny, we've actually got a brand new Hilux in front of us that is having a hard time or choosing not to do the speed limit. I've got the air conditioner off. We're doing 105 now, so we got up that hill maintaining 100 k's an hour, no issues. We've still got a little while to go up here, but you can see the EGTs are dropping. So I'm not sure how well the camera's showing the incline. We've got another incline coming up here, so we'll run up this one and see if we can get it hot. We've got 500 up this next, we're doing 105 now, so we're actually maintaining 105 k's an hour up the hill. 520, so we're getting close to that zone where I don't want to be, but we're at the crest of the hill now. So in my opinion, that's another success. So on the way back, there's a couple of hills that are quite a bit steeper. There's one in particular where I know we'll hit that 550. Once I get down the other end, I'll probably stop recording. I'll wait till we get to those couple of steep runs and then we'll start again just so you can see that. I don't want to bore you guys with me just yapping away with an endless drive down the highway. And hopefully when I do that, the other side of the highway is looking a little bit quieter, so I want to really have a crack at that, doing the 0 to 100 test. I think it's going to be hilarious. So I might even look for somewhere to exit soon. We've done about 25, 26 kilometers on this side of the road, which might give us enough of an indicator of fuel consumption. And we'll do the 0 to 100, we'll get the big hill, and then we'll get home and we'll chat about the results. Alrighty guys, we've pulled off the highway just to turn around and head back up north. So we've got a nice quiet spot here. We're just going to get into the 110 speed limit zone, and then we're going to see how fast we can get this thing up to 100 k's an hour. So unfortunately I don't have a camera that aims at the speedo, but I think what I'll be able to do is I'll just be able to review the footage. I'll be able to write down in the corner how long it took. So the last thing to do is just get off the downhill here, so we're on flat ground. And what I'll do is I'll put the timer on the screen so you guys can actually see how long it takes. We won't stall it up or do anything weird. We're just gonna take off and see what happens. Alrighty, here we go. Oh, I should have bought my neck brace. That's 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So, that's a quick way to get your EGTs up to 550. You can see there what the 1HZ doesn't like, and I suspect that it's probably over-fueling and not enough boost that's causing that. Again, it dropped down back to where we want it very quickly. It was only over temp there for a very short amount of time, so I'm not too worried. But that was not quick by any means. So it might be time to purchase a 0 to 100 eventually sticker and put it on the back. Okay, so now we're just gonna get back to these uphills. I'm gonna film a couple of those, then we'll have a chat. I'll post the stats up where you guys can have a good look at it, and I'll talk about what's happening next, because there are things ready to go. It's Tuesday today. I've got a few days in a row free, so we're gonna get stuck right into some mods, which I'm super excited about. So I'll see you at the next hill. Between overdrive and no overdrive. So our EGTs are nice and low. We're back in the mid 200s. You can see here we're coming up to the hill. So this hill isn't super steep. It's medium incline, but it's a good sustained run. So I think it's kind of funny. I'm trying to show the limitations of the 1HZ here, and it hasn't really done it for me yet. But I think this will do it. So we're rolling into the hill now. Again, I'm going to try and maintain 100 kilometers an hour. So at the moment we're just above that. And as soon as it starts beeping, I'm going to reach in, turn overdrive off, and then we'll just talk about what sort of speed it can maintain up the hill. So we're at 105. We're on 100 k's an hour. You can see those EGTs are not going to mess around as that incline picks up. I'm going to have my finger on the button ready to go. Still at 100. Still at 100. I'm slowly having to put more and more throttle on to maintain that 100 k's an hour. EGT's just touched 500. It might not do it. We're doing just over 100 still. Okay. It's 100 speed limit here, so I'm not going to go any faster. We get a little break here and then we go for another round of uphill. Again, those EGTs peeling back really quickly, which I like to see. I think since I first had issues with this feeling warm, I replaced the radiator because it had a small little crack in it. So that may have solved it. Maybe it's better than what I remembered in my head. Okay, we're doing our best to maintain 100. I think we're going to get it up here this time. A bit more throttle input. We're still maintaining 100. We're still maintaining 100. It's not like it's going to hold on. Still doing 100 k's an hour. Okay, that's 100. I think we're just about through the worst of it. Looks like those EGTs are going to behave themselves. Okay, well, I'll turn Overdrive off just so you can see what it does to the EGTs. Still maintain 100 and we're back down. So there you have it. I think it behaves better than I even thought it did. I have one more hill to conquer before we get back, so I'll see you at the next hill. Alrighty, here's our final test, the big hill. Those EGTs are getting up nice and early. Again, I'm doing 110. I'll allow it to fall to 100, but I'm going to try my best to maintain 100 up the hill. So I'll keep you updated on what the speed says. We're doing 110 still. 109. We're still maintaining 110. Well, after all my yapping, I still couldn't get it to do what I thought I was going to get it to do. Maybe giving the engine bay a clean has helped things. But yeah, we're at the top of the hill now and we didn't see over 110. We didn't see over 550 degrees on the EGTs. All right, guys, thanks for hanging around to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. So I thought now we'd just go over fuel consumption, what I've learned from this experience testing the car and what I'm doing next because I have a ton of stuff on the way. So in terms of fuel consumption, it's pretty average. It averaged 16 litres per 100 or 16.03, but I've rounded it off to 16. I think that's just due to a super old tune in the car, not being optimized, and injectors I think are probably due for being replaced. So the next thing on the list is a new set of injectors. I've got a new fan with the viscous coupling and I've sort of topped that up with oil, so I'll walk through that because that's meant to be a really helpful thing to do. So we'll test that back to back against today. I suppose, what did I learn from today? I learned that the 1HZ is not as bad as what I had made it out in my mind. I probably am a bit too harsh on it in general. So I found it, it's drivable, but it's not a speed machine. So these cars need to be driven with a little bit of respect. They're not something that you just jump on the highway and send it full steam. If you want something like that, go buy something brand new. Go buy a petrol and get the 30 litres per 100 that you'll get out of it if you drive it like that. The turbo is underwhelming. It's very laggy and slow, so we're going to be sorting that out. I plan to tow my boat with it, so I definitely need to optimize the current setup for those hills. So coming up next, I've bought a bunch of things for the suspension, as I mentioned previously. I've got control arms, I've got the front radius arms, there's a whole bunch of stuff. So we're going to walk through that and why it's important as that next step. I've bought a new turbo, I've bought a new front mount intercooler, the injectors and the fan. So if there's anything else you want to see me do to this car, let me know. I do plan on painting it in the new year. I do have some marketplace mods that I'll be making an episode on very shortly. So yeah, keen to hear from you guys. Appreciate it again as always, and I'll see you very soon.